Hello and welcome back. You're looking at Jack Eichel and he's been dominant, whether he's with Marner and Dorofeyev or Barbashev and Stone, it doesn't really matter. 11 points in 5 games, 5 power play points, averaging 5.4 shots per game. You definitely want exposure to him. However, you can get it. Unfortunately, they're on a 3-game week next week, and most of that top 6 is owned up. So who can you add for week 3 to gain an edge on your competition? I'll break down the schedule and some options for you in this video, but first, I have some good news and some bad news. The bad news is that I won't be doing weekly videos every week the way that I have in the past. Now, when I started this channel in 2022, I was undergoing a career change into data analytics, and this career change was designed to allow myself to be more available for my kids and my growing family. Now, if you watched this channel at all during this time period or supported me on Patreon in any way, I want to sincerely thank you guys. You guys kept me going through a pretty rough time trying to find a job during all of that. At the tail end of COVID and everything, it was a crazy time, and I sincerely thank each and every one of you for your support. But what I've recognized in the past 2 years is that working 40 hours a week at my now job and then coming home and trying to find an extra 10 plus hours a week to dedicate to making content for this channel, it's just been a lot. And I found myself telling my kids that I can't play with them because I have to work, and I just don't want to be that dad. So my family comes first, and I hope you guys understand that I need to prioritize them and scale back Data Draft just a little bit. Now, the good news is that I've built a tool that pretty much does everything that I was trying to do in those weekly videos. So let's take a look at that tool right now. So this is the new weekly schedule tool, and it's a little bit of a mix between a schedule analysis tool, the goalie hub, and the player hub all in one. So what you get here, you can select whatever week you want to look at. Right now it's week 2, so that's what's pre-filtered. This team defense ranking will make sense a little bit when we go through the schedule grid. Up here, you've got top performers each week. You've got skaters, Matthew Nyes going off this week. Dylan Strome with a 4-point game. He's up here at the top. You've got Nick Schmaltz with a hat trick last night. Tom Wilson, Dylan Larkin playing really well this week. You've also got some goaltenders over here you can take a look at a glance. Cam Talbot, Scott Wedgwood playing really well. Karel Vejmelka, Akira Schmid in the absence of Aiden Hill. Even though that save percentage is a little low, still got 2 wins this week. And then Logan Thompson as well. So you can get a glance of some of the guys who are more productive over the past week. This will tell you what the week is filtered to currently. As you select a future week, this will disappear because obviously players haven't played in the future. So when we scroll down a little bit, you get essentially the weekly schedule grid. It looks a little bit small on this monitor. It'll look a little bit bigger on your browser. This is available. You can use it on your phone. It's just not optimized for mobile. So it might look a little bit different. It might look a little weirder, but the functionality is essentially the same. I would recommend using it on a desktop though. So now, as I'm recording this, we're on Saturday. So taking a look at some of these matchups, the number underneath is the team defense percentile. So if you're looking for goaltenders, you probably want a start where you're facing a team that has, really poor defense. Or, if you're looking for a goaltender, you want to find somebody with a good defense. So for example, if you're looking at maybe the backup in, you saw Brendan Bussey last week for Carolina. He came in 94th percentile team defense. That would be a streaming option. Even, Edmonton, when they put their backup in, whether it's Pickard or whoever else they've got Connor Ingram in the minors. That could be an interesting option. Scott Wedgwood has been a factor right now, 91st percentile team defense for them. And then in terms of what you're looking at for offense, you want to find those matchups where you've got like Ottawa playing a really bad team defense. So that would help you find some advantageous matchups. I tried to color code this. It didn't work. I'll continue to make improvements to this. So if you have any feedback, let me know in the Patreon or in the Discord group. Now, as we scroll down, you see the team with the most games down here with 3 light nights. Next, this week is Chicago, Detroit with 3 light nights, Utah with 3. And then if you filter on any of these, you click that little magnifying glass. This will filter this schedule grid and just show you the schedule for that team. So you can see Chicago played Utah. They had St. Louis on Wednesday. Friday, they played a really nice overtime game. Could have won that one easily. It was a shootout, went down to the wire. And then they play Anaheim on Sunday. So you can kind of break it down that way. This clears out that team filter so you can see the entire grid. As this loads, you'll see this little guy in the top. That's kind of the loading icon for this app. So that'll indicate that things are working in the background to get you the data. Now, in this section, we've got the player and goalie filter section. So right now, I've got it set to 4+ games this week. You can filter it however you want. Most light night games, 4 games, and most light night games. all teams. We'll clear this out and show you everybody. And this will make a little bit more sense as we go forward. So I'll filter it to all teams, and then we'll scroll down here. There's some additional filtering options. Ownership percentage, that's going to be a big one if you're trying to find guys on the waiver wire. You can filter by a bunch of different metrics here, and I'll go through some examples as we move along. Here's the skater table down here. You can find some of the best players in the league. Obviously, we can sort by clicking any of these, and it'll sort in descending order. Jack Eichel leading the way with 11 points in 5 games. Here's his completeness rating. This will be an indicator for category leagues. This regular rating is kind of a blend of the weighted rating and the completeness rating, so it's kind of an overall holistic view of how valuable this player is in fantasy, and overall, he's number 1 at 92.8. That is Jack Eichel. So when you click on a player, at least the checkbox over here on the left, this will take a second to spin. It's pulling the most recent data, which is updated daily. And then it'll show you essentially the player card. So it looks a little bit different, but this is the player card sort of thing that I've been using on this channel for a while. Obviously, Jack Eichel, line 1, PK1, PP1, 100% rostered. You get all that information up here. You get the regular metrics up here, 11 points in 5 games, 5 power play points. 2.2 points per game so far is crazy. 5.4 shots per game. Play that over shot prop for Jack Eichel. And then you get everything else here. The trend at the bottom is what we've always looked at in these player cards. So you get all of that whenever you click on one of these. Now, same type of thing goes for goaltending. You can filter here, and then you can also go down and do the exact same thing with goaltending. The only trick is, for whatever reason, you have to unselect the player from the data table if you want to go and check out a goalie. So that's the only quirk of this. Just wanted to let you guys know about that. As we look at the goalie ratings, Scott Wedgwood leads the way, which I guess is a little bit surprising considering he's always been a backup, but it's not surprising because he's on a really good team. Team defense, 91st percentile for Colorado. They've been off to a good start. He's been off to a good start. 939 save percentage, 1.58 goals against, 5.2 above expected. Really complete across the board, getting some decent save volume. Team defense in front of him has been good, getting goal support, etc. So there's a number of things you can do with this tool. One of the things, if you want to find a goaltender on the waiver wire, you just dial back this percentage. Maybe if you're in a 12-team league, you want to look at 65% or lower. You can kind of add in some other features if you wanted to make sure that you were getting at least sort of an average save percentage. You dial this up to whatever you want. I'm going to say 900. And then I probably don't want a team defense that's that bad. So let's go to 35 percentile on the team defense. And that will filter this data table at the bottom and show you some of these options. Now, the number one option off the waiver wire this week and going forward should be Cam Talbot, 36% owned, 932 save percentage, 1.78 goals against, 2.3 above expected. Team defense is looking good. The Detroit Red Wings in general are looking good. They've won 4 in a row. 36% means he might be there for you on the waiver wire. 3 wins and 4 starts. Again, really excellent numbers from Cam Talbot. I believe John Gibson was in last night. He didn't have a bad game, but he did start off a little bit slow. So Cam Talbot seems to be the better of the 2 options right now. As we look through some of these guys, as I mentioned, Brandon Bussey playing on that Carolina team, 941 save percentage in his start, mainly because of that team defense, but he played pretty well. You also have Alex Lyon here, 4 starts so far, only 7% owned, 912 save percentage, just a shade below expected, but overall for Buffalo, that's really not that bad. They aren't going to necessarily get you the wins, but 1 win and 4 is not great, but the 912 save percentage, if you're in a category league, that makes sense. 3.05 is a little bit high, but not terrible. So there's a couple of options you can find here, and you can kind of play with these filters as you want and find exactly what you need off the waiver wire. So this is just a quick overview of the tool. Down at the bottom, it'll tell you when the data was last updated. If you have any other questions, leave those in the comment section below. You can get access to this in the Patreon link in the description below. Now, as I take a look at week 3, and we can take a look at the schedule options for week 3, things will become a little bit more clear, but at the same time, there's not a ton of options next week. So what we have in terms of the teams with the most games, you've got Buffalo with 4 games, 3 light nights. You've got Calgary with the same setup, Minnesota, Montreal, New Jersey, Winnipeg, all with 2 light nights, and then a couple of other teams that play more on the heavier nights. When we look at Buffalo, they've got a difficult schedule, and there's really not a ton on the waiver wire. We'll go through some of the options below. But you can see here they play Montreal on Monday in Montreal. That's tough. Then they come back home and they play the red-hot Detroit Red Wings. Then they get a home-and-home against Toronto. So not an easy week for Buffalo. Much of the same in terms of Calgary. They're also in a situation where there's not a ton off the waiver wire. If Jonathan Huberdeau comes back, that might be an interesting option. And there are some guys that we can look at. But again, Jets, that's a tough matchup. Montreal, that's a tough matchup. Jets again. And then the Rangers, that should be a relatively low-scoring affair, at least in terms of what the Rangers have been doing offensively. So we can get into some of the players from these teams, but just wanted to show you a little bit about the schedule. When I come down here and filter to 4 games and the most light nights, we can find a couple of options, and I'm going to dial back the ownership percentage. So what you can see here, you get guys like Tage Thompson, Rasmus Dahlin, Alex Tuch. These guys are obviously owned up. You don't necessarily want to be able to look at these guys in the table because you're not going to be able to have access to them. So I'll dial back the ownership percentage, and we could take a look at some of the guys that you may be able to find on the waiver wire. Zach Benson, it's been 1 game, but he had 4 points in that 1 game. So a really nice showing from Benson. He is line 1 and power play 1. So that's worth noting. He's a skilled player, very undersized, very small, isn't going to get you any peripherals for the most part. He does have a hit and a block in that 1 game, but again, small sample size. Really good in terms of offensive production in that 1 game, but again, small sample size, so don't make too much of this. In terms of category leagues, you can sort by completeness. Benson's number 1 because of that small sample size, but with that, you've got Jason Zucker, who could be a decent category league player for you. 4 games played, 3 goals, 3 points, obviously. The hits volume is what's going to be impressive about him. 2.25 hits per game, 3 shots per game, 2 power play points per game. So line 2, power play 1, only 6% owned. He could be an option for you this week. You've got Blake Coleman, who's 3-position eligible. This is another setup for Calgary where you have a 4-game week, 3 light nights. Maybe you want to go out and grab somebody. There's not a ton here. Joel Farabee's available. Matt Coronado we'll get into in a second. Blake Coleman hasn't been the most offensively productive player, but look at the hits volume. 2.8 hits, 2.6 shots, and a block per game. So if he can start to add in some offensive production, now he's not getting any power play time, that's going to hinder his ceiling. But he is available pretty much in most leagues at 23% ownership. As I mentioned, I do want to cover Matt Coronado. The only reason why I'm not going to go out and grab him is because I have Pasternak, and he's a single position right winger. So too is Matt Coronado. So I don't know if I want that stack with 2 single position right wingers. But with that, line 1, power play 1, only 18% owned, 3 points in 5 games, 2 goals, 1 assist, a power play point. Not much in the way of peripherals. In fact, no hits or blocks so far. 2 shots per game, but he is getting a little bit of power play time. So hopefully he can, translate that into offensive production. He's got a really good shot. I've been hearing good things about him in the offseason. Dustin Wolf said he had one of the best shots in the entire NHL. I believe it, just eye test, but we'll have to wait and see if he can put that to good use this week. A couple of other options for you as you scroll down. You get a couple of these other guys that maybe you want access to. Ryan McLeod could be an option for you. 2 goals in 4 games. You can sort this however you want. Now, not all of these metrics are being shown. If we go across, you can see some of the other ones here, hits, blocks, shots. So if you're looking for a little bit of shot volume, you come up here and you get, I think that's Benson at the top. I'll have to scroll back over. Again, I'm using a crazy screen on this, so if you're on a regular desktop, you'll be able to see the whole thing. Josh Norris is not going to be back, I don't believe. Josh Doan could be an interesting option for you. Again, there's not a ton on the wire for Sabres and Flames. You might have to, just throw a dart at the dartboard on one of these guys and hope that it pays off for you. But Josh Doan, line 2, power play 1, only 1% owned. I'll have to double check that and make sure that that's accurate. But 3 points in 4 games is not bad. A power play point with that power play usage. 3 shots per game is nice. 1.25 hits per game is nice. So he's been kind of fitting in pretty nicely there in Buffalo. He was part of that return for JJ Peterka in that trade in the offseason, so it's nice to see him getting going. Now, if you're looking for pretty much in general anybody, because there's not a whole lot here, you can just go to 4 games per week, and if you have some room to add those guys in on the heavier nights, some of these options open up. So Nick Schmaltz, a crazy game last night. I believe he had a 4-point game with a hat trick. I was playing against him, so that was not great. I do love Nick Schmaltz in most league formats, center, right wing, dual eligible, line one, power play one, usually attached at the hip to Clayton Keller, and he was last night. Keller went off for a couple points as well. He's available in some shallow leagues, 37% owned, 4-game week next week. Really good shot volume so far, 4.4 shots per game. That's probably a result of the small sample size and the fact that he had 3 goals last night, but still really productive from Nick Schmaltz. You also have Jared McCann, center, left wing, dual eligible. He's a guy who in the past has been close to a 40-goal score or at a 40-goal pace during parts of the season and parts of other seasons. This year, he's got 4 points in 4 games, 3 goals, 1 assist, 3.5 shots per game. That's the main feature of his file. 1.25 hits, 1 block per game so far. Line 1, power play 1. That's what you like to see. 40% ownership means he might not be there for you in a shallow league, but still probably worth it on a week where he's got a 4-game week. Another guy I wanted to keep an eye on is Zach Bolduc, another single position right winger that I may not be able to get, but he was red hot to start the season. He might have cooled off a little bit over the past week, but obviously Montreal is not cooling off. They are red hot right now. 4 points in 5 games. 3 of those are goals. 2 of them are power play points. I don't believe it has his line usage, but used on one of the 2 power play units, and both of them are relatively productive. You've got Line and Dobson on one of them, and then obviously you load up the other one with Lane Hudson and Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield, etc. So you're getting good exposure no matter where he plays. 1.6 hits is a nice feature of his file. 2.6 shots is pretty good as well. Relatively skilled middle 6 forward, and he was off to a really good start last week, so wanted to put some attention onto him. Also got to give a shout out to Kiefer Sherwood, who has been kind of carrying the Vancouver Canucks. We know what he can do in terms of hits volume last year, setting the NHL record for hits, 4.8 off pace to start the season this year, so still picking up where he left off last year. Shot volume at 2 shots per game is not bad. He's got 3 goals in 5 games, which is kind of crazy to think of. Line 4, penalty kill 2. He doesn't get a lot of opportunity, but he's 47% owned because of that hits volume. So he might not be there for you, but definitely did want to shout him out. One other quick shout out here is Dawson Mercer. The Devils do have a 4-game week next week, and he's been really productive so far. He's been a guy who obviously had a good rookie season, I believe it was, and then kind of faded a little bit into the ether, didn't really make too much noise in New Jersey, especially when they had Jack Hughes out. He could have stepped up and filled that role. Didn't really take the bull by the horns there and make a name for himself, but he's doing it now. 4 points in 4 games, 2 goals, 2 assists, a power play point on that second unit, which right now they have Dougie Hamilton on the second unit. They've got Luke Hughes on the first unit, so that's worth mentioning. I have Dougie Hamilton in one league, so that is a little bit frustrating, but if you have Luke Hughes and you drafted him super late, that's music to your ears. In terms of Dawson Mercer, line 2 deployment is pretty good. You're going to get really good line assignment exposure there. The power play 2 unit is obviously not ideal, but they're going to lean on the right shot guys on this unit. He could be set up for that one-timer on the off wing. So this is not a terrible setup for a team that plays 4 games next week. If we want to go back up to the top and take a look at what the Devils look like, they do play Tuesday. They do play Wednesday, so they do have this light night, and Friday is a light night, and Sunday as well. So technically 3 light nights there. Sunday doesn't technically factor in as light because look at all these games, but Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, plus that Tuesday. So you're getting 4 games and a couple of light nights in the middle here. So could do a lot worse than a guy like Dawson Mercer. Now, Matty Beniers is another option that I've been looking at. He's in a really nice deployment, top 6 power play time in Seattle. Seattle does have a couple of impressive wins to start the season. Joey Decord's been off to a decent start, had that one bad game. But Beniers, 3 points in 4 games, 2 assists, 1 goal, a power play point, 2.5 shots per game, a hit, and just under a block per game. So kind of in that range where you can probably find him in a 12-team league at 15% ownership. Line 1, penalty kill 2, power play 1. Everything that you like to see there. He's young. He's kind of been around for a couple years now. This could be a breakout point for him. I'm keeping an eye on that as we move forward. There's a couple of other guys. I don't want to touch on everybody. Vlad Tarasenko has been power play 1. He's been putting up some points in that role. You have a couple of other guys here that Tyler Toffoli picked up a power play point last night. He's been relatively productive, 3 points in 4 games. And as you look through this list, you can find things that suit your team exactly. And I'll give you a little bit more pointers on how you can manipulate your roster and your schedule to find guys in specific spots as we move along in the season. So this is just a couple of players to take note of as you're looking at forwards. If you're looking at goaltending, I'm going to clear out some of these filters. Actually, I'm going to leave them on just because this is kind of the bare minimum that I want in a goaltender. So if we leave these filters on with the ownership percentage, the save percentage, the team defense, this is a pretty thin list. You do have a couple of guys here. Dobesh has been really good to start the season, just the same as Montreal has been. 2 wins in 2 starts, 940 save percentage, 3.24 goals saved above expected, and their team defense at 78th percentile is a little bit unexpected from my position. I wasn't expecting them to be that great defensively. They have a lot of young defensemen on that blue line, but they've been doing the job so far. 15% ownership. I believe they have a back-to-back. Let's take a quick look up at the top and make sure. We'll just filter the schedule to the Montreal Canadiens. It should show us in a second what their schedule looks like. You see Monday against Buffalo. You've got Wednesday against Calgary. They do have this back-to-back Wednesday, Thursday. So Dobesh will get into at least one game. You probably get 3 from Montembeault and then 1 from Dobesh. But on that Wednesday, Thursday back-to-back, you could take a look at Dobesh. He's been really good so far this season. Now, as we look at some of these other guys, this list is just the goalies that have the 4-game weeks. So you're looking at some of these guys without the filtering options. You got Saros, who's been pretty good so far, one of the top goalies in the NHL. You got Vejmelka up here as well, but these guys are owned up. So if you're looking for options, you've got maybe Joey Decord in a shallow league. Stuart Skinner's still not owned up, despite the fact that he's been pretty good, 921 save percentage and a shutout so far. Demko's looked pretty good. Jake Allen, again, the Devils have a 4-game week. They do have the back-to-back Tuesday, Wednesday, so you could go to Jake Allen at some point in that back-to-back, whether he's going to be the front-loaded guy or the back half. But he's been really good, and he's pretty much the starter at this point with Markstrom injured. So that's also worth noting. His ownership has probably gone up in that time frame. 1 win in 2 starts, 957, 1.2 goals against. He's above expected, and the team defense is not bad either. So if you're looking for a temporary starter, you've got Jake Allen. You also have Alex Lyon here, who's been relatively good considering it's Buffalo. He's got 1 win in 4 games. That's a factor of Buffalo, but at the same time, a 912 save percentage is pretty good in Buffalo. That's pretty much where UPL was at last year. He's right around expected at negative 0.6 goals saved above expected. Team defense is not terrible. It's not great at 41st percentile. He's going to get a ton of saves because of that. So his save volume is 98th percentile. So this is a guy at 7% ownership. If you're looking for a starter with some volume, they do, I believe, have a 4-game week this week. That's part of the filtering options here. You are going to get a start from Calvin Pickard. He's available. You kind of know what you're going to get out of him. Relatively good save percentage. 933 is excellent. Small sample size. And Devin Cooley hadn't played in a long time. And if we take a look at the Calgary Flames goaltending, so I've come up here, I've filtered to all teams and then filtered to just Calgary, and we can take a look at their goaltending by comparison. I'll undo these filters. Dustin Wolf has been struggling. So 1 win in 4 starts, 873 save percentage, well below expected, 4.76 below expected. Goals against is really high. So of the two, I mean, obviously it's a small sample size with Cooley, but he looked pretty good in that win, or in that game, I should say. 935 save percentage, 2.04 goals against. He was above expected. So at 4% ownership, they should have a relatively favorable schedule where he's going to get in one of those back-to-back situations. And with Dustin Wolf kind of struggling, and Dustin Wolf last year was mainly a home goaltender. When he was at home, he was playing really well. So again, they don't have a back-to-back. That's I was mistaken. I thought that they did. But the perfect Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday setup, I would imagine they're going to give Cooley one of these games. I don't think that they would run Dustin Wolf for all 4 with the way that he started out struggling. If you see Cooley starting, it's not necessarily a bad setup for him. There is just not a lot of data on him because he didn't play for a long time last year. So just a couple of goaltending options. I don't want to go too far into it. Again, if you want access to this tool, you can find the link in the Patreon, or the Patreon link in the description below. Again, I want to thank you guys for supporting this channel throughout the entire time that I've been running it. I want to continue to make content for you guys, but I want to make sure that content is good quality and that I can give you my full undivided attention. So thank you all for your support, and I'll see you in the next one.